Here is a question Nigerian political analysis almost never ask about Nyesom Wike, not because it is too complicated, but because the answer is uncomfortable. A man who holds a federal cabinet position, who is constitutionally a member of the PDP, who publicly campaigns for APC candidates, who controls 22 of 23 Rivers State LGA chairmen through APC structures, and who is now, according to January 2026 reports, reaching out to the Social Democratic Party to field candidates in all 23 of those same LGAs. How does one man simultaneously hold federal office under one party, operate politically inside a rival party, and now explore fielding candidates under a third party in a constitutional system that has rules against all of this and face zero legal consequence for any of it? The answer reveals something important, not just about Wike, but about the specific gaps in Nigerian constitutional law that make this kind of political architecture not just possible, but strategically rational. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what it would take, legally and structurally, for Wike to field SDP candidates across Rivers' 23 LGAs while still holding federal office. You will understand which parts of his plan are legally clean, which parts are constitutionally exposed, and which parts are already working in plain sight. To understand the SDP play, you first need to understand the specific political problem it is designed to solve. When Fubara defected to the APC in December 2025, he did not just change his own party card, he fundamentally altered the political geometry of the 2027 LGA elections in Rivers State. Here is how. Wike had been under intense pressure since Fubara defected from the PDP to the APC, because with the governor now controlling APC ticket allocations, Wike's traditional power base could shrink dramatically. Think about what this means structurally. Wike's political dominance in Rivers State has always rested on one foundation: controlling who gets the ticket that wins. In the era when he was governor, that meant the PDP ticket. When he moved to the APC orbit, that meant the APC ticket. His 22 LGA chairmen from the August 2025 elections were APC candidates, Wike's people running under Wike's preferred party banner. But if Fubara, now inside the APC, begins influencing APC ticket allocations in Rivers State, some of those 22 LGA chairmen face a future where their renewal tickets do not come through Wike's recommendation. Sources indicate that to counter this, Wike is considering a tactical alliance with the SDP. The SDP was already cleared to participate in the August 2025 Rivers LGA elections. Beyond the PDP and APC, other cleared parties included the Social Democratic Party. The SDP has a functional Rivers State chapter. It is registered with INEC. It contested the August 2025 elections. The infrastructure exists. What Wike needs is not to build the SDP in Rivers from scratch. He needs to fill it with his people and weaponize its ticket allocation for the next LGA cycle. That is the plan. Now let us examine what the law says about whether a federal minister can execute it. Hold this question. The 1999 Constitution Section 147 governs how ministers are appointed, but it says almost nothing about what ministers can do inside political parties while holding office. That silence is not an accident, and it is the single most important legal fact in this entire story. We will come back to it.
3 constitutional provisions are relevant here. Each one tells a different part of the story. Section 147 covers ministerial appointments. It says that a National Assembly member appointed as minister is deemed to have resigned their legislative seat. It says nothing about a minister's party membership, party activities, or party loyalty. There is no provision in Section 147 or anywhere else in Chapter 6 that bars a federal minister from holding a position in a political party, from directing a party's candidate selection, or from switching party allegiances while in office. The 1999 Constitution appears silent on the status of members of the executive who change political vehicles. Section 68 and 109 prescribe seat forfeiture for legislators, National Assembly and State Assembly members who defect from the party that sponsored their election. These anti-defection provisions are specific and enforceable, but they apply exclusively to elected legislators. They do not apply to executive appointees. A minister who switches party loyalty faces no constitutional sanction under either section. Section 49 guarantees every Nigerian the fundamental right to join and participate in political parties. That right is not suspended by accepting a ministerial appointment. No statute removes it, no case law restricts it. The constitutional architecture creates this result. A minister who claims PDP membership but works with the rival ruling party faces no legal consequence because the law reserves anti-defection sanctions specifically for parliamentarians, not executive appointees. For Wike's SDP play, this means the foundational legal question: can a serving federal minister direct a third party's candidate selection in state LGA elections? Has a clear answer under current Nigerian law. Yes, he can. The mainstream media covers the noise, but on this channel, we track the actual chess moves building up to 2027. If you want to understand how power really shifts in Nigeria before it breaks on the news, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Let's look at how the rules are being manipulated. Here is what most Nigerian political commentary misses about Wike's SDP play. The legal question, can he do it, is the easy part. The structural question, how exactly would it work across 23 LGAs, 319 wards and thousands of councillorship positions, is where the real obstacles sit. 4 structural requirements must be met before a single SDP candidate can appear on a Rivers State LGA ballot. Requirement 1. SDP must have a functional RSIEC recognized Rivers State executive. RSIEC conducts LGA elections independently of INEC. It recognizes party executives at the state level for the purposes of candidate submission. The SDP currently has a registered Rivers State chapter. It contested the August 2025 elections. But Wike cannot simply install his own people into the SDP Rivers executive. He must either work with the existing executive or engineer a Congress that replaces it with his loyalists, which requires following the SDP's own constitutional procedures and securing the recognition of the SDP national leadership, which is currently backing Adewale Adebayo's presidential candidacy. Requirement 2. Ward congresses in all 23 LGAs. To produce valid LGA chairman candidates, the SDP must conduct ward-level congresses in every ward of every LGA where it wants to field a chairman. RSIEC requires a minimum 90-day notice before LGA elections, a requirement whose violation nullified the October 2024 elections in a Supreme Court ruling. Wike needs the LGA election timetable to be announced with sufficient lead time to conduct ward congresses across 319 wards before the submission deadline. Requirement 3. Candidates must hold valid SDP membership. Under the Electoral Act 2026 and INEC and RSIEC guidelines, a chairman candidate must be a registered member of the party for a minimum period before the primary. If Wike's preferred candidates are currently APC or PDP members, they must formally defect to the SDP, register, and allow the membership window to expire before they can contest an SDP primary. That window, typically 30 days under most party constitutions, means any defection must happen well before the primary deadline. Requirement 4. RSIEC must recognize the SDP Rivers chapter as legitimate. In August 2025, RSIEC cleared the SDP as one of 16 parties to contest the LGA elections. The Beke-led APC faction in Rivers argued that RSIEC's failure to recognize its leadership invalidated its own candidates, showing that RSIEC's recognition determinations are consequential and contested. If the SDP experiences an internal leadership dispute between Wike-backed and Adewale Adebayo-aligned factions, RSIEC will have to make a determination about which executive is legitimate before it accepts candidate submissions. That determination is a pressure point. Now, if the political strategy I just laid out surprises you, drop a comment below with your thoughts right now. I read every response, because we are about to pivot to the national fallout that changes everything.
Even if Wike clears all 4 structural requirements, 3 risks remain that his political team must price into the strategy. Risk 1. The federal office conflict, optics if not law. Wike's action of pledging support to a rival political party while insisting on his PDP membership undermines cohesion. That assessment from a constitutional law perspective is about politics, not legality. But the same logic applies to a minister who directs SDP candidate selection in a state election while holding federal office under a president whose party, the APC, is competing in the same election. Tinubu's APC is fielding 20 of 23 LGA candidates. The FTC minister, whose salary is paid by the same federal government, is directing a rival party's candidate pipeline against those APC candidates. There is no law that prohibits this, but the political relationship between Wike and Tinubu has always been transactional, and this move changes the transaction's terms in a way that Aso Rock will read carefully. Risk 2. The SDP national leadership's own interests. The SDP's 2027 presidential candidate, Adewale Adebayo, is running on a platform that includes governance reform and competitive multi-party democracy. Adebayo has his own Rivers State ambitions to manage. The SDP itself is experiencing internal factions, with Abimbola Akim Atanda representing a rival faction led by Shehu Gabam. A Wike takeover of the SDP Rivers chapter could align the party's state apparatus with Wike's interests in ways that conflict with the national leadership's preferred candidates or coalition strategy. The SDP national leadership must weigh what Wike's money and machine brings against what his control of the party's state chapter costs them nationally. Risk 3. The Fubara-NDC counter. If Fubara files for the 2027 governorship under the NDC, a scenario whose probability increases with every week that his withdrawal from the APC primary is not formalized as permanent, the NDC will field its own LGA candidates across Rivers State in support of its governorship campaign. Analysts say Wike's SDP move signals intent to challenge Tinubu's APC in Rivers' political arena. But a three-way LGA contest between APC, SDP, and NDC in Rivers is not a contest that automatically benefits Wike. It divides the anti-Fubara vote in LGAs, where Fubara retains personal loyalty from his Ijaw and Riverine constituency base. Wike's SDP play only works as a dominant strategy if the NDC does not enter the field with Fubara's direct backing. The SDP option, read correctly, is not primarily a story about party politics. It is a story about how Nigerian political power operates when the formal structures that are supposed to contain it, party loyalty rules, ministerial conduct standards, and anti-defection provisions, have gaps large enough for an entire political strategy to move through. Wike's architecture is now this. He is the force behind both APC and PDP factions in Rivers, claiming a unity that no other state in Nigeria can match. Adding SDP control gives him a third lane, a second opposition entry point in any LGA where APC tickets go to Fubara-aligned candidates rather than Wike loyalists. What this means for ordinary Rivers people is specific and not theoretical. LGA chairmen in Nigeria control primary healthcare centers, feeder roads, basic sanitation, and community-level development funds. Who controls the LGA chairmanship controls daily governance for millions who will never attend a party congress or file a court case. When the selection of those chairmen is determined not by community preference, but by which federal minister controls which party's ticket allocation, the democratic promise of local government is hollowed out before a single ballot is cast. I told you at the start to hold the question of Section 147 silence on ministerial party activity. Here is the answer in full. That silence was not an oversight. The Constitution's drafters designed a separation between appointment requirements and political activity because they assumed democratic norms would fill the gap, that a minister serving a president from one party would not simultaneously direct rival party structures in state elections. The assumption was wrong, and no amendment has corrected it. That constitutional gap is what makes Wike's SDP option not just possible, but under current law, entirely legal. Let me state what the law says and what it does not say as clearly as possible. A federal minister in Nigeria can hold party office. He can direct candidate selection in state elections. He can operate across multiple party structures simultaneously. He can field candidates under a party whose presidential candidate is running against his own president's re-election. None of this violates a specific enforceable provision of the 1999 Constitution or the Electoral Act 2026. What Wike is attempting in Rivers State, using SDP as a third-lane vehicle to maintain LGA control if APC tickets migrate toward Fubara's influence, is legally possible under every framework that currently governs Nigerian politics. Whether it is structurally achievable before the next Rivers LGA election depends on four things: the SDP national leadership agreeing to the arrangement, RSIEC announcing a timetable with sufficient lead time for valid ward congresses, Wike's preferred candidates completing their party registration and primary windows, and Fubara choosing not to enter the LGA field through the NDC before Wike's SDP structure is ready. All four are uncertain. None are impossible. Watch for the RSIEC timetable announcement. Watch for SDP ward congresses in Rivers. Watch for mass defections of Wike-aligned politicians from the APC to the SDP in the weeks that follow. If you see those three signals together, the SDP play is live, and Rivers State's 23 LGAs and the 9.8 million people who depend on them are about to experience another round of top-down political engineering dressed in a new